Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. So it took me a while to make this video. To be honest, I filmed most of the video that you're about to see in October. The third week of October is when these events occurred. And it took me a while to kind of get over it, so to speak. I was very, very upset about what happened. So basically what happened is that in the third week of October, I was gone away for a few days. And while I was gone, I got a message from my sister saying, the neighbors are in the garden and they're doing all this retaining wall work. And my understanding had been, after discussing it with my neighbor, that he was going to wait till I had a chance to move my plants and he's going to give me notice and let me know when this is going to happen. And that way it would be kind of coordinated and I would kind of be on site to oversee, because they're going to be in my garden. And, of course, all gardeners were kind of very protective of our plants, of course, right? I'm sure our gardeners feel the same way as me. So I was very upset when I came back. And I came back and I saw like a lot of my garden had been destroyed. The retaining wall, it was an old wooden wall, like a creosote wall. So it was like ties, and that wood had been kind of ripped down and then dumped on the front garden, in the front garden bed. And yeah, there was just like dirt everywhere. Plants had been ripped out. So understandably, I was upset. And it took me a little while to kind of get past that. So now I wanted to kind of share with you a little bit of that experience and, what the garden looked like afterwards. So here it is, and hope you enjoy. And, now that I've kind of had some time, I'm not as upset. And I think, there's opportunity here. So I'm going to try to look at it from that perspective. So here's the video, and I will just touch base with you at the end to show what it looks like now.
So welcome to the destruction I came back to after being away for a few days. So due to a miscommunication with my neighbor, he went ahead to tear down this retaining wall. And my understanding was that he was going to wait till I was present and had a chance to remove all my plants. So I was very upset, as you can imagine, as I came home to this. I did put a stop to it as soon as I could because I wanted to save what I could. Here you can see that I have my hostas here and my blood good Japanese maple. I would have been very upset if those had been destroyed. So luckily I was happy to see that they were still relatively in good shape. This was in October, so mid to late October. So it was raining quite a bit, which was like probably not the best time to do this. But again, this happened without kind of my knowledge. And here you can see where they've tried to demo the retaining wall as much as possible. They've even started getting a start on putting down this gravel and blocks. And here you can see the garden bed that was most affected. And here I have a dwarf Alberta spruce. There's a little astilbe there. There's some ajuga. Most of this was destroyed other than the dwarf Alberta spruce. It got piled on with piles and piles of dirt, rocks. So here you can see even the sidewalk was covered. This was very upsetting for me. This is my generous gardener, David Austin Rose. And I came home to find it like this. It was just pulled out. It was just destroyed. I even checked and it was cut below the rootstock, so below the graft, so it's not going to come back. The landscaper told me, don't worry, it'll grow back. Its roots are deep in the soil. I'm like, no, it's grafted, so it's not coming back. True. Anyways, so, you can see all the piles of dirt. So most of the grass was covered. They did try to save some of the plants. Some of the larger shrubs were kind of pulled out and put aside. This is now the front yard. So this is what I came home to. Not a pleasant experience coming home to this because these piles and piles of the old retaining wall, pieces of the wood, the treated wood, they were just piled up and on parts of my garden bed in the front as well. So I was not happy about that. I don't want them crushing my plants. And you can see here, that's pretty much what they're doing. I have a garden bed in the front along the side of the driveway here, and some of them were just toppled on there kind of haphazardly. Here you can see there's been pretty big ruts put into the front lawn here from the equipment. And so here, we had some big stones piled in the front, and just, not a safe situation having all this debris here on the front lawn. So here you can see some of our rocks that were kind of just pushed over into this garden bed, and I was not happy to see these rocks because I have my Boscobel rose under there somewhere. So, they had just taken these rocks and kind of rolled it into this garden bed, which crushed my Boscobel rose. So not happy about that.
So here we are. It's a beautiful December day, mid-December day. And yes, believe it or not, this is Canada, people. This is Canada. We are not all living in igloos and snow covered here in the winter. But yeah, so this is kind of the grass. I did talk to the landscaper and he said that any revisions they would make in the spring, summer. So I'm not too worried about it. I've never been too concerned about the grass in any event, but you can still see the kind of ruts where the work was done. The stones have been put back where they were. I'm not sure the status of my Boscobel rose that was crushed under the rocks. Hopefully it will come back. So yeah, that will have to be a wait and see. And just turning slowly here, we have my yew, which was kind of pulled out and replanted. So it's been in there a long time and I'm hoping it will do well and recover. And you can see this part was replaced, and this is had to be wood instead of block because it was a thin area and it's kind of holding up my neighbor's driveway. So that looks pretty good. And turning here, you can see the new wall we have. So this one is made of concrete blocks, and you can see it's been raining quite a bit, so we have quite a bit of mud here. But the wall, like I had no say in the color of the wall. I think this is just whatever was most economical, and other than wood, of course. And you can see that there have been caps put on place on top of the wall, and you can see that so far it's looking good. The true test will be kind of how long it lasts after a couple years, but here we can see like the grass that was here, it's all been kind of destroyed, not surprisingly, because there was quite a bit of heavy equipment and work being done here. But this is kind of a light gray kind of stone, and it gets darker with when it's wet, so when it rains. And just going along here, so I had a shot of this in my previous pictures taken earlier, and you can see like the bloodgood Japanese maple has lost all its leaves now, and you can see my hostas have kind of disappeared. I'm not sure if the two back ones will come back. I'm hopeful they will, because hostas have, the roots are still in there. They die back in the winter anyways, and those were actually my two biggest hostas in this little garden bed, so I'm hopeful that they will come back, but it's kind of a wait and see. And yes, here is the more destruction of the grass here. We'll have to do something about that. And these were shrubs that were pulled out but have now been replanted. So I did get that landscaper to come back and replant these in hopes they will come back. I don't know if they will or not, but it was worth a shot. So this is a rhododendron, which has bright pink fuchsia flowers. It's really beautiful. I'm hopeful it'll come back. I couldn't remember exactly where they were planted, so we just kind of guesstimated. And what we have here is, this is a red twig dogwood, an Arctic fire. So it's been here a couple years. I haven't actually trimmed out any of the branches, and you can see they're still pretty vibrant red. So that'll be something I'll have to do in the future, but right now it's looking pretty good. And on either side of it, I have boxwood. So actually this boxwood was in the front garden, and I got it moved here because I don't know if it's going to survive or not. It doesn't look that great, but you never know. You give it a shot. And this boxwood here, I figure I would just like kind of have some symmetry and put one on each side. This one I actually got for free. It was at Home Depot and they were going to throw it away. So I said, hey, can I just take it and just give it a shot, try to rescue it? And luckily they said yes. So I have these kind of bookends of boxwood on both sides of this Arctic fire dogwood. And actually, on either side of the boxwood, you can kind of see it. This one's a little bit harder to see. These are my willow. So I have this salix willow, and it's kind of a bush form willow. It gets quite large if you don't trim it. But I've plopped those on either side. of the boxwood, kind of just again for that symmetry. So the boxwood is kind of flanking the Arctic fire dogwood, and the willow is doing the same, flanking the boxwood. So the star of the show kind of is the Arctic fire dogwood, and then the rhododendron there is kind of just on its own for now. It's just kind of like a pop of color that I wanted to put in this kind of more darker area back here. Now the plan is, of course, to get a fence up, and I'm not sure what the timing will be for that, but also like that will also definitely decrease the light in this garden bed here. So that's something I'm also going to have to think about, is if these plants are going to be able to handle that. And this is the area where most of the garden destruction happened. Like I did have hostas along here, which I don't know, I think they're probably gone. I had other plants as well. I can't recall, but I definitely had ajuga. If I look back at my videos, I can see. I know I had a drinking gourd hosta, so mostly hostas. And then this garden bed here is where most of the destruction happened. You can see my bobo hydrangea is still there. My generous gardener rose was back here with the astilbe, and I had some heucheras, some ferns, and yeah, those are pretty much all gone. So basically the only thing that is left is the bobo hydrangea, as well as the dwarf Alberta spruce. There's an astilbe right behind it, and then there's a little bit of ajuga, but nowhere close to where it used to be. And you can see this is our lights were also pulled out, and one of them was destroyed in the process, unfortunately. And yeah, you can see like the garden is definitely been negatively affected by this work, but I guess the work did have to get done. So there's that. And I'll just take you along to the back of the shed. Here, it's kind of a mess here. We're gonna have to clean this up when the weather warms up, but this is kind of where the wall starts or ends depending on how you look at it. And initially it was actually put on the sidewalk, like, so the narrow area, walking area, was left to be this much, and they had put it right on the sidewalk, which of course when I got back I made them move it back, because of course it should not be on the sidewalk. So that was something I was very upset about. So they had to kind of restart what they had started and move it back, because of course we want the sidewalk clear and we need that space for walking. And of course up here there used to be a lot of blackberry bushes, and hopefully this will get rid of them. I'm hoping they won't be coming back. Those are the invasive Himalayan blackberries, so they're not anything that you really want. They're more like briars or brambles rather than anything that gives you any nice berries. But yeah, so that is the status of the garden now, and I've calmed down quite a bit since it happened, and I'm taking a different approach and just going to be like, at the end of the day, it's just plants. They can be replaced, and don't get too sentimentally attached to them, because again, they're just plants. They can be replaced. And then I did want to show that there is part up here that don't have caps on, and that's because that's where the fence is going to go. But we did pay for the caps to be put on top of the fence, because our neighbor was not going to put those in and just leave it without caps. You don't want to pay the extra cost. So I definitely did pay that, because I do want it to look relatively nice. So yes, there is the update on the retaining wall, and hopefully this will be a long-lasting and well-built retaining wall, but only time will tell. So thanks so much for joining me on this kind of emotional video, but yeah, so looking forward to spring now that it's December 18th. I cannot wait to get in the garden again. Thank you, and have a great, happy holidays. Bye now.